Reader response criticism is a way of understanding literature that puts the reader at the center of meaning making. Unlike older methods like new criticism, which focused only on the text itself, reader response criticism believes that a text only truly exists when someone reads it. In other words, the reader plays a key role in bringing a story, poem, or play to life. To understand why this approach is important, it helps to look at what it reacted against. New criticism treated a literary work as an isolated object. It did not matter who wrote it or who read it. The meaning was supposed to be entirely within the text. New critics even warned against considering how a text made a reader feel, calling this the affective fallacy. But reader response theorists disagreed. They argued that reading is an interactive process. Without a reader, a text is just ink on paper. It gains meaning only when someone reads and interprets it. This idea has been explored by many scholars. Early on, I.A. Richards studied how different students responded to poems and found that their interpretations varied widely. This showed that readers bring their own experiences, emotions, and knowledge to what they read. Rosenblatt took this further with her transactional theory, which says that reading is a two-way interaction between text and reader. She also highlighted two types of reading: efferent reading, where the reader focuses on facts or information, and aesthetic reading, where the reader focuses on the personal experience and emotions the text evokes. Iser introduced the idea of the implied reader, a figure that text seems to be written for. He believed that texts contain gaps, that is, missing details that readers must fill in, making them co-creators of the text's meaning. This means that every reader might come away with a slightly different interpretation because each one fills in the gaps in their own way. Another important figure is Hans Robert Jauss, who developed reception theory. He was interested in how readers' responses change over time. According to Jauss, every era has its own horizon of expectations, a set of cultural norms and values that shape how people read texts. For example, a novel considered shocking 100 years ago might seem tame today. This shows that texts don't have fixed meanings. Their interpretations shift depending on who is reading them and when. Norman Holland took a psychological approach, suggesting that readers interpret texts based on their own identities and life experiences. He argued that people use literature as a tool for self exploration, often seeing parts of themselves in the characters or themes. This helps explain why the same text can resonate differently with different people. Stanley Fish offered another perspective with his concept of interpretive communities. He argued that people who share similar backgrounds, education, or beliefs often read texts in similar ways. This means that meaning is not created in isolation. It is shaped by the communities we belong to. The text itself does not hold meaning on its own, it gains meaning through the shared practices of its readers. Some theorists push these ideas even further. David Blake argued that a text does not exist independently at all. It only exists in the interpretations that readers create. He believed that discussing and comparing different interpretations can help people better understand both literature and themselves. While reader response criticism has been praised for giving readers an active role in interpretation, it has not been without criticism. Some scholars worry that if every reader's opinion is equally valid, it becomes impossible to say anything definitive about a text. Others argue that this approach can lead to extreme subjectivity, where a text can mean anything to anyone, making serious literary analysis difficult. Despite these concerns, reader response criticism has made a lasting impact. It has encouraged readers to see themselves as active participants in creating meaning rather than passive consumers. It has also highlighted the importance of context, social, cultural, and personal, in shaping how we read. By recognizing that meaning is not fixed but fluid, this approach has made literary studies more inclusive and dynamic. In teaching literature, reader response criticism can be particularly powerful. It invites students to share their own perspectives and see how their backgrounds influence their interpretations. It also encourages discussion as students compare different readings and explore how text can speak to diverse experiences. While it is important to balance this with an understanding of the text context and structure, the approach offers a way to make literature feel more personal and relevant. Reader response criticism reminds us that reading is not just about uncovering an author's hidden message, but about engaging with the text in a way that is meaningful to us. It turns reading into an active creative process where every reader plays a part in bringing a text to life.